Did you guys see this? Everything has to be dumbed down for this moron. Now, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, good Lord, shows you what a joke this country is. Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence. By the way, before I get to what I was going to talk about here, did you heard about this highly successful, massive attack by Ukraine on Russian military aircraft? They took out like 40 of them with drones. This incredible operation. Anyway, it's being reported that the White House knew nothing about it. Of course, they're not going to know anything about it. You know, we've talked about this. Other countries, especially a country like Ukraine, who Trump personally has a hate on for, but really any country, would be absolutely out of their freaking minds to share intelligence with the United States, especially anything related to Russia. And Tulsi Gabbard is almost more of a Putin puppet than Trump is. So, of course, you know, Zelensky's not a moron. Unlike all these MAGAs running around in our country, the guy's not an idiot. He's not going to plan this massive surprise attack on Russian forces and share that information with the Trump regime. Are you kidding me? But, you know, it's not just in this way. In a lot of ways, the United States is not going to be kept in the loop from other countries about what's going on in the world in various ways. And that's going to be to our detriment. But this is what happens when you vote for an idiot. And another thing that happens when you vote for an idiot, and here's what I wanted to talk about, is you have to dumb everything down. Donald Trump is an idiot, like really freaking stupid. The man speaks at maybe, on a good day, a fifth grade level, maybe, and that might be insulting to fifth graders. This guy has a limited vocabulary. He has a limited understanding on virtually any topic. I mean, the guy is a moron. And one of the ways in which his stupidity manifests itself is that he doesn't read. All right? Of course, you know, it's a self-reinforcing thing. He's not intellectually curious, so he doesn't read, and his not reading is one of the things that causes him to be such an ignoramus. He simply doesn't know anything. Even if he did read, it's hard to know how much he would understand given his exceedingly limited intellect. But he doesn't read, and one of the important parts of the job of president is to be commander-in-chief, to be in charge of our national defense. And to that end, the intelligence community provides a presidential daily brief, is what it's called, summarizing the foreign intelligence, things that are going on in the world on a daily basis, so that the president is constantly in the loop about everything that's going on, everything that he really needs to know, that his intelligence community says, okay, here's what you really need to know about what's going on in the world. And so that's provided in a presidential daily brief. It's written. Now, a president can also get, you know, in-person presentation and explanation about things, of course, anytime he wants. But he's provided with this written PDB every day. Well, as you would expect, moron Trump doesn't read it. He probably wouldn't understand what he's reading if he did. And unless he had somebody right there with him to help him sound out the words, I doubt he could get through it on his own. So, but he doesn't read. And so Tulsi Gabbard, Putin's stooge, wants him to get this information. And so she's trying to figure out ways to give him this information in a way that he'll actually want to consume it and then understand it. And so, obviously, that's a real struggle. That's a real problem. How do you do that with a guy this fucking stupid? Well, put it in a form that he already likes. So she is working on a plan to provide this information to Trump in video format in a Fox News style. So she wants to produce videos in the Fox News style. I don't know if she'd have Sean Hannity come in and mispronounce the words and read it poorly. And I don't know who. I don't know if they get someone from Fox News. I don't know. You don't actually need to get anyone from Fox News since, half of his administration is full of Fox News people. So you got plenty of people on staff who are already expert at the Fox News style presentation. Hell, just have Pete Hegseth do it. Of course, Pete Hegseth isn't much smarter. But that's what she's working on. She's working on taking this highly classified, important information in the presidential daily brief, and then, I guess on a daily basis, producing Fox News style videos that she would play for him. I mean, this is what the American people voted for. This is the moron who is in charge of our national defense, our national security. This is the guy who's going to get that 3 a.m. phone call when some emergency that greatly impacts the United States, is happening. This idiot is the guy who can't fucking read, the guy who Tulsi Gabbard has to make these special Trumpy videos for in order to get him this information. That's the guy that the American people said, yeah, let's make him president. Let's make him commander-in-chief of our military. That guy who on a debate stage was talking about people eating cats and dogs. That idiot. Let's make him. You can't make this shit up. So it's going back to Ukraine. No wonder. Of course Zelensky is not going to keep the White House in the loop. But you know who else is not going to keep the White House in the loop about things? Great Britain and France and all of our allies. They're going to pick and choose which things they share with this moron and which things they don't. First of all, he won't understand much of what is shared with him, and just the miscommunication could cause problems. If they're trying to convey something to him that's really important, they got to think, how are we going to present this to him? He doesn't understand big words. He doesn't understand simple concepts. Should we draw it out, make pictures with crayons and send it to him? I mean, we have important stuff to tell the president of the United States. How do we make sure he actually understands what we're telling him and doesn't create a bigger problem because he doesn't? So a lot of times they're just going to say, you know what? It's best we don't tell him at all. We'll just do this without him. That's one reason they won't share anything, because he's an idiot. But the other reason is, you don't want it going directly to Putin. Whatever you tell Donald Trump, you might as well just pick up the phone and tell Vladimir Putin. So for a lot of reasons, people aren't going to be sharing any intel with the United States anymore. Anyway, good job, America. I still, every day I wake up, get my cup of coffee, turn on the news. Of course, I drink it in my Fuck Trump mug. By the way, there's new stuff on the Romano Report shop. I got some taco merchandise, so if you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description. But anyway, get up with my cup of coffee, I read the news, and I just still can't believe that we're going through this shit again. I cannot believe that the American people chose this. But we're surrounded by morons, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Anyway, thanks for watching. Oh, by the way, I love this headline. Oh, I did have a couple of things I wanted to show you real quick. This is how Rolling Stone titled their story, headlined their story. Trump could get Fox News style intel briefings because he doesn't read. That is what was written about the President of the United States. Because he doesn't read. Of course, NBC News had to sanitize it. They wrote, Gabbard considering ways to revamp Trump's intelligence briefing. One idea is to make the briefing, which according to his schedule, Trump has been taking less often than his predecessors, a video that looks like Fox News. Now, you already know the gist of it, so I don't need to read this article, but here's what pisses me off about it. One, the way they just sort of sanitize all of this, right? Rolling Stones did it right. Rolling Stone just put it out there. Trump could get Fox News style intel briefings because the fucking moron doesn't read. Okay? That is an accurate representation of what's going on. NBC doesn't do that. NBC has to clean it up and make it look like Trump is not a moron. Gabbard considering ways to revamp Trump's intelligence briefings. One idea, blah, 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 which according to his schedule, Trump has been taking less often. So that's what the schedule says. But why? Why, NBC? You're going to explore the reasons why the commander and fucking chief of the military doesn't take daily intelligence briefings that are prepared for him? You don't ask that question, do you? And I promise you they don't.